It is another wonderful time on television, and thanks for joining us again today on the program Africa Discourse. My name is Evan Sunokugie. Today on the show, we are going to be looking at the very recent, talking about the call, and of course the support that the United States is giving, trying to give to nations on the continent of Africa the power to be members of the Security Council, permanent members this time of the Security Council at the United Nations. You and I know that five members, they've been there, five members of the Security Council. You talk about United States of America, you talk about the Great Britain, you talk about United Kingdom, that's Great Britain now. You talk about France, then Russia. These are the countries that are members of the Security Council at the United Nations. And we know that this known as the famous five. And once we talk about the United Nations, we always make a reference to these five nations, because what these five nations enjoy, other members of the United Nations, they don't enjoy it. So recently, about on Thursday to be precise now, we saw Linda Thomas, that's the United States ambassador to United Nations, making the call for African nations, this time 2 African nations, to be permanent members of the Security Council of the United Nations. But there's a caveat to that now, and the caveat is that they can be members, but they won't have any veto power. So the big question we're asking is, of what use would that be? You are a member of the Security Council, and you do not have a kind of a veto power. Well, to discuss all this this afternoon, we are so privileged to have foremost human rights activist and, of course, an international conflict resolution expert, Nowita Egbotako. Nowita Egbotako, you're welcome to the program Africa Discourse.
Thank you for having me.
You know, when I was going through the introduction, I saw you smiling and all that. Now, that smile, is it in support of this development, or a kind of a smile to disapprove it? Let's get your take on it.
The smile is connotes the fact that America is at it again. The superpowers, or say the superpower, America is at it again. When they have hidden intentions, you know, to better their interests, that is what they do. Why permanent members? Why 2 permanent members without veto powers? I think that is a caveat.
Yeah, that's a caveat. Yeah.
No, without veto power. To me, there's something they want for Africa and Africans. They want to use those 2 African countries who they have decided to make permanent members to their own advantage. As I used to say on this program, the superpowers, you know, they don't joke with their national interest. The national interest is uppermost. Every other interest is not important to them. They're looking for people. Remember, United States is an imperialistic country. United States survives, you know, or progresses on its imperialistic manipulations around the world. Whether you like it or not, I'm talking because I know. This is my field, I'm an expert in it. United States thrives in feeding on the corpses of least developed countries. As we speak, Nigeria, for instance, the kind of resources that we have is more than what the United States can boast of. So for America coming at this time to want to, you know, introduce an agenda that will bring 2 African countries to the United Nations Security Council without veto powers, for me, is a mockery.
Yeah, when we say now,
That's the way I feel.
yeah, but I think we also need to look at it from the standpoint that it is not actually the first time that the United Nations, United States now, is talking about this. Now, we remember Biden, that's the president now, he talked about the need for the United Nations to increase the membership of the Security Council. Well, as at then, he didn't really make reference to Africa as a continent, but he just said that instead of having 5 permanent members, there is need for the United Nations to increase it to about 15. And now we're having, you know, from the same US now, the kind of, we're having a kind of a support that, okay, this time let's take 2 African nations to be part of the United Nations Security Council. So I think it's not just a new thing now.
Okay, just as I said, to buttress my point, a Joe Biden suggested 15 at a time.
Yeah.
But now
that's only about four years ago.
They have a coherent, granite, you know, solid foreign policy that is binding on any president. You know, successive president. No, it's just 4 years, and he is still president. Why from 15 to 2?
No, he said there is need for United Nations to increase the membership of the Security Council.
He said he proposed 15.
Yeah, he said increase it to 15. So out of that 15 now, let's say 2 African nations will join, making it 7. Then maybe from there it will be increased.
You see, as I said earlier, we are in a world where might rules, might prevails. At international circles, it is manipulations on how to, you know, exert supreme power over other lesser nations. It is not to the interest of Africa and Africans. It's to the national interest of America or United States. So, you know, why making it non-permanent members? We already have 3 non-permanent members. What effect are those 3 permanent members? What effect have been made in the global international reckoning? Talking about international relations, talking about diplomacy, talking about bringing development to Africa and Africans. Africa still remain in the pool of underdevelopment. For me, because I know, United States want to use those countries to their advantage. Because when you're in a council, you need people that will you know, dance to your tune. People that can always call, come and vote, you know, on my behalf. Come and vote for my policy. Come and vote for my interests. So for me, I don't see any benefits, so to say. It's like just putting 2 African countries there, playing the game of the international superpowers. If at all, if there's any role they want to play, is to tap African resources, to manipulate Africa the more. Because Africa we have the market, you know, we have the population, we have the ecosystems, we have the raw materials, we have everything that the West needs, if America needs, you know, to manipulate to their advantage. So it's nothing intoxicating. It's nothing. That's why I laugh when I say because I know, because we know what is happening at the international circles. There's nothing special. If they are coming, okay, come and be permanent member, it will be something we'll clap for.
Okay. Now, as we progress on this show this afternoon, we're going to be looking at nations on the continent of Africa, and maybe we should be able to make 1 or 2 suggestions. Maybe Nigeria now will be one of the members, because it is only a kind of a free will that United States is giving to Africa, that 2 African nations should be members of the U.S. Security Council. But again, like I said earlier on, that the United States ambassador to the UN, you know, on Thursday, while she was addressing a gathering at the United Nations, she said that the reason why this veto power is so sacrosanct? It's because members that are Security Council members, they've discovered that the powers that they have, it makes their work so dysfunctional.
Because they have atomic
power,
energy.
Veto power.
Veto power.
But no, we're talking about 5 nations now. We're talking about the Great Britain. We'll talk about France. We'll talk about China, United Nations, and of course USA. Then we'll talk about Russia,
France,
five of them,
Britain,
Great Britain, and United States, the big five. Now, if you look at these countries, look at nations on the continent of Africa, which of the nation do you think can really match powers, with this nation? If we are to say that, okay, let this country be part of the Security Council.
Before I answer that question, I want to viewers to know one thing. How did the big five, how did they come about with the veto powers?
There are technological advancements.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
After the pogrom, after the massive destruction, after the Holocaust of 1945,
the Second
World War.
Yeah.
They sat down. They got what they call Pyrrhic victory, that warranted unimaginable bloodshed. The role that the theater played in the Second World War, and Russia suffered. France suffered. In fact, all the countries at that level, they suffered. So when Joseph Stalin of Russia, Franklin Roosevelt, United States wartime president, Franklin Roosevelt, and this guy in France, what is his name now? I will remember.
Gorbachev?
No, in France. I will get the name. De Gaulle, Charles de Gaulle, and the rest. They said, gentlemen, we fought this war with our limbs almost gone. We want to envisage a new world order where we can control the entire world.
So that was how the big five.
Yeah, the big five came
up
because they have the atomic energy. The atomic energy was intoxicating them, and they don't want to be equal with any country. And see the hazards that the veto power is causing all over the world.
Yeah, so
it's the veto power. I'm coming. I will answer the question. It's the veto power that prompted this guy in Moscow,
Putin,
to run amok into
Ukraine.
Shattering one of the sacred charter of the United Nations that a nation should not run across any nation border.
Yeah, but I think okay. Let me just let you anchor your point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to overhand. So it was selfishness, national interest of the highest level. They want to be supreme. They want to be superior. What they call animal farms. All animals are equal. Some are more equal than others. I said they want to be equal than others. So coming to your hands to Africa, for me, Nigeria would have been a ready-made.
Which country?
Nigeria would have been a ready-made one of the countries to go to the United, Security Council.
Yeah.
Maybe South Africa, Egypt, and name them.
And maybe Rwanda.
Well, Rwanda because of the recent progress, stability we are seeing there.
Yeah.
But Nigeria cannot be because they are criteria. Nigeria cannot be one of the new or two members. They are.
What are these criteria that we are not meeting?
I have not seen those criteria that the West will bring, but I see one of the criteria as democracy. What we have here is jungle democracy. What we have here is a phantom democracy. Democracy that is anti-people. Democracy for the politicians, by the politicians, and for the politicians. Democracy that is not transparent. You understand? So, and we saw what happened, even recently in Edo State. Because Edo is not in isolation. We are part of global village. Talking about criteria.
Yeah.
Democratic criteria. Look at what happened in Edo State yesterday. The people voted. And look what came out.
Yeah, but
see, I'm coming. I'm not a politician. I'm not a politician. But you will agree with me, but a chunk of the people of Edo State are not happy. Did you see any celebration on the street of Benin? It is a minus for democracy. because the process was not transparent. So in a situation whereby democracy is being run like we are in a jungle, I don't see Nigeria getting a slot there. I see countries like South Africa, might get a slot. Maybe I should say Rwanda. But it will be a shame on Nigeria, be the most populous country in Africa, not to have been, at the long run, ultimately, if Nigeria will not make it. So this is challenging Nigerian authorities. It is not too late. Nigerian authorities should work on its electoral system. Let it be transparent, for goodness sake. Democracy is an issue. It's one of the instruments, that the Western liberal, capitalism, Western liberal capitalism, it's one of the things they are using, to aggregate, to score countries all over the world. So Nigeria must wake up. What is wrong if we sanitize our electoral system? What is wrong if our electoral system is done in a way that it will look like what is happening at the global level? Let the people elect members of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Do allow a sitting president up in hand in selecting the chairman of the National Electoral Commission. Let it be open. For instance, we're talking about corruption in the Nigerian process because it's one of the virus that is killing the country. Let there be a review of the financial laws, EFCC, that the president will not have power to select the chairman. This is what we're talking about. So it's not too late for Nigerians to organize.
Yeah, but we have our National Assembly, because when we talk about this, the power of the president in Nigeria at times, I think...
National Assembly, we're directly talking to.
Yeah.
To have the lawmaker, to have the courage to come up with these things.
So when we talk about the president, I think we should also talk alongside with that the National Assembly, because most times, most of this appointment that we see, you talked about the chairman of INEC.
Yes.
It is not as if maybe it is the president just single-handedly appoints him and all that.
We know the way Nigerian system works. The Nigerian system works in a way that that's a network of evil, so to say.
What is your opinion?
A network of retrogression. Nigerian network, because the cabal that holds the country don't want Nigeria to aspire to greatness. It is unfortunate. That's the reality.
Okay. Now, Nowita, let's look at the issue of the powers of the Security Council one more time. Because we know that the veto power that they have is so huge.
It's huge.
I mean, you talked about what Russia has been doing in Ukraine.
In Ukraine.
And no question.
It was a veto power that entered Vladimir Putin and ran across the border. He said to hell with international relations.
Yeah, but again, I think it's beginning to dawn even on member nations of the Security Council now. Imagine the United States ambassador to the UN, Hilda, Laurie now, saying that these powers that they have makes their work dysfunctional. So it means that she's beginning that some members of the Security Council are beginning to know this. So that's what she's saying, that is the reason why that, okay, if these two African nations come on board, we cannot allow them to have this veto power. So I think we also need to consider that too.
Well, it's quite unfortunate that the leaders, world leaders that gathered at Yalta Conference in 1945, before the emergence of the United Nations Organization.
About 80 years ago now, yeah.
It's unfortunate that some of the factors that led to the death of the League of Nations, it was the League of Nations died.
That erupted the United Nations.
League of Nations died, that led to Hitler's emergence. The League of Nations failed to adhere strictly to the laws, statutory laws governing the League of Nations. They allow an Adolf Hitler, for instance, to emerge. And countries were misbehaving. Before you know it, an Adolf Hitler appeared. Benito Mussolini appeared in Italy. Benito Mussolini, the fascist. That's where he got the word fascism. He was the fascist leader. So those guys appeared when they saw that the League of Nations was being manipulated. They said, man, that's how the League of Nations died. So unfortunately, the leaders that met at Yalta Conference in 1945, Joseph Stalin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Clement Attlee, the one that Winston Churchill was there, Britain. Then this guy in France, Charles de Gaulle. Because of parochial national interest. Parochial national interest. That what led to the death
of the League of Nations.
League of Nations. The same parochial national interest is what is bedeviling United Nations now.
Or let's say the Security Council.
The Security Council. Why veto powers? Why not rely on that popular your policies are, or whatever agenda you have for the United Nations? Why make some people supreme? Why make some people superior?
Yeah.
Why make some people inferior? Why are some people first class countries?
Yeah,
because they have atomic energy.
Yeah, but again, we also need to bring to bear the importance of...
If the ambassador is you said it just now.
Yeah.
The American ambassador to United Nations is already looking at the ambiguity, looking at the
the veto power.
The veto power is a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah.
The veto power is a problem.
But again, don't you also think that this veto power that these 5 nations have had over since the creation of the United Nations now, more than 80 years ago, that it has brought some significance now to United Nations. I mean, take for example, the kind of security that it helped other nations to keep, and the kind of security that they also help to bring to the globe.
What security are they keeping?
Now, take for example, in some nations in Africa, even while we understand that some of the insecurity issues that we are fighting are more or less domestic. As a member of the United Nations, we see whereby United Nations bringing their troops, to help fight the security issues and all that.
Peacekeeping
mission and all that. So I think...
Is it the better power that generates the peacekeeping operations?
No.
Peacekeeping operation comes up as a result of the resolution.
Yeah, that's what
the entire General Assembly.
Yeah, you were trying to say that this veto power that these 5 nations have, that they misused it.
Yeah, they misused it.
But again, we also need to look at it that, okay, they may have misused it, but somehow they've also been helping member nations to keep their nations.
Are they the one helping member nations? Is it not the veto power that drove America to Iraq, for instance? For what they did in Iraq? They picked Saddam Hussein like a baby and dumped him away.
Like Russia has been doing to you.
That was one of the reasons Russia did. Is that one reason Vladimir Putin made when he addressed the country? He said, look at what they did in Iraq. Look at what they are doing in Syria. I read the content.
So it's been a case of watch your back before you watch mine.
So the veto power has made superpowers to be insincere in the global arena. They've been parochial. National interest supreme. The national interest is supreme over every other thing. So, and they don't care. The superpower believe in might. Look at what they did to Libya, for instance. What offense did Muammar Gaddafi commit? What offense, since the elimination, since the destruction of Muammar Gaddafi, as peace come to Libya, is that how to use superpowers? Is that how to use veto powers? Let's face reality. We can cite, look at Afghanistan, for instance. All the billions that America took to Afghanistan, only to discover that they have nothing to do there. Look at the humiliation that they left Afghanistan in the name of looking for global terrorists and all that. So for me, the superpowers with their vetoes is a minus for international peace and order. Because the characters we have in the Security Council, they are misusing the powers. They are not transparent, they are not honest with the power. Their national interest is the main thing. As I said, they are going to bring extra African countries to the United Security Council, so their own interest. Not to the interest of Africa and Africans.
Okay. Now what are we talking about? Yeah,
a
while ago, you mentioned 3 countries in Africa.
Okay, you know, upon their peacekeeping operation in Africa, because even when we were in the 4 walls of the university, we look at it. Now I'm an expert, I know more. Upon the peace overtures, upon the intervention, United Nations and all that, do we have peace in Africa? Because they come with double-edged agenda. National interest.
All right,
let's tap African resources. So they have ulterior motives. It's a struggle. In the international circle, it's a struggle. It's not where you, it's not a tea party. It's a struggle for supremacy. It's a struggle for dominance. It's a struggle for control.
Okay. Now, a while ago, you mentioned 3 countries in Africa. You said Nigeria. You also mentioned
but Nigeria may not make it.
But you also said Nigeria. Then you said South Africa.
Because of our size.
Yeah,
we are the most populous country. We have one of the largest markets. But unfortunately, upon the largest market, upon the population, Nigeria, we are. You know what is happening?
Yeah, but you mentioned Nigeria, so let's
because we are supposed to be a natural candidate to enter.
No, wait. Now you said Nigeria, you said South Africa, then of course you talked about Rwanda.
Rwanda or Egypt.
Now Rwanda. I remember many times we've seen the issue of Rwanda, despite the political stability and all that. Now the issue of the human rights issues that a lot of persons.
Paul Kagame.
That I know of Paul Kagame. How he has not really respected human rights issues in Rwanda. Now, don't you think that may stand against Rwanda?
That might stand against him. But one thing I said, today, Kagame and Rwanda is a darling of international, of the superpowers, so to say, mostly from the Western realm. So, as I said, if they want to favor Rwanda, for instance, there's nothing anybody can do. They will value the
human rights issues.
Thing, because they've done it in the past. When they were dealing with Zaire, for instance, you know, during the Cold War, upon the resources that was in Congo, where you have the Republic of Congo now, they just pick one guy, Mobutu Sese Seko. The way they didn't give a damn whether the man was anti-people. Mobutu Sese Seko.
Yeah.
They don't care whether he was trampling on people's human rights. But Mobutu was a darling to the United States for many years. Because Mobutu opened the gate of Congo's resources to them free of charge. So they had a tea party. There were plenty of party when Mobutu was in power. So coming to Rwanda, except they may not look at human rights if they want Rwanda to be there. That's what I'm trying to play. Because the national interest is what they want to do. That's what happens at the international circles, international relations. There's no sentiment. That is a part of the matter. There's no sentiment. It's not how beautiful you are or how handsome you are looking. It's their interest, what they want to get out of you. So these 2 nations, they want to propose from Africa. They want to see how they will use them to their own advantage. That is the fact of the matter.
Okay.
Because we know, okay, they have not allowed Africa and Africans to develop. My brother, since colonization, my brother, I remember at the time, there was no Soviet Union. Soviet Union emerged in 1917. Get what I'm saying? At the time, there was no China. China emerged in 1949. Which power has really come out of Africa? So it is a deliberate manipulation of the superpowers to subjugate Africa. Africa remain where it is. And remember, civilization started in Africa.
Yeah.
There was no United States when we had Egypt, the civilization in Egypt. There was no United States. There was no, London was not there. London was just a village when they had Egyptian civilization. Okay. But you have not asked a question, why is Africa still stagnated?
Let's look at the whole issue about United Nations one more time. Now, what do you make of this posture of the United States? You know, the seeming posture of the United States always taking the lead, always taking over the United Nations. I mean, we're talking about nations of the world coming under an umbrella of the United Nations. I mean, United States of America is not United States. One would have expected that this kind of suggestion should come from United Nations, not the US.
Maybe a meeting of the General Security
The conglomeration of United Nations now, not the US. What do you make of it?
Because the United States has an advantage.
How?
It's the most, it's a superpower.
The most influential?
Most influential, yeah. Very influential. Very rugged country in terms of international politics. And they did not get it on a platter of gold. They fought for it. We know the role they played during the Second World War. When Hitler ran amok over Europe, Hitler almost overtook Britain. Joseph Stalin, when Churchill was the prime minister. One of the, I want to tell you as one of the
ways.
One of the ways they became a superpower and influential. When the Hitler was raining bullets and bombs on London, when Mr. Building was drizzling with bombs, Winston Churchill cried to America. You know, they have a Congress. The Congress must meet before they decide. But there was something that happened. When Winston Churchill cried to America, he said, Nazism is taking over,
the U.S.
The UK.
Britain. Yeah.
Britain.
Yeah.
What do we do? Winston Churchill, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the greatest American presidents ever, without telling the Congress, without allowing the Congress to know, what they call land lease policy. It's called the land lease policy. Winston Churchill, Roosevelt shipped arms
to Britain.
Underground. Massive arms, ammunition underground. That's how the tide of war turned against Nazi Germany. When they tell me such countries after the Second World War will not have influence, answer me now. They played a role that was magnificent. If not for the role played by Franklin Roosevelt, probably Islam will have overrun the British highs. That's the fact of the matter. Experts in international relations hearing me, they know what I'm talking about. That land lease policy saved Britain, saved the British Highlands. And after the Second World War, another factor, the same Franklin Roosevelt, it was during his era. We're not talking about the Bretton Woods institutions. Bretton Woods, where you have the World Bank and the rest. And we know the role the World Bank has played in subjugating nations through loans and what have you. You want to play with such country? Where do you have the Bretton Woods institution? This is not in the United States, in somewhere in New York. Yeah.
The UN conference in New York. Yeah.
So it was, they earned it. One of their greatest leaders did that magic. Since then, the program of the United States have been climbing. And when they sat down at the Yalta Conference in 1945, a prelude to the United Nations, we know the role played by Franklin Roosevelt. They were dictating. They were dictating to Stalin from Russia. We saw it in the books. So America has played its dues. Let's say the truth.
Oh, okay.
They played their dues. So the influence that such an outstanding president like Roosevelt played,
still on to
that's what they're enjoying. Look at the role of America in Ukraine, for instance. You want to tell me Ukraine will get freedom tomorrow and they no dictate to whoever that will be president of Ukraine? If not for America, Russia will have finished with
Ukraine.
So they deserve it. They work for it. It's a superpower. They have a fantastic foreign. I said here even before now that they have a granite international relation agenda that no president can toy with.
Okay.
That is what is going to give Donald Trump, for instance. Donald Trump will not get the presidency, quote me. For me, Donald Trump will not win the next November 5th election in the United States because he has so much going for against him. It's not it's an enemy of American foreign interests. An American generals, CIA, former directors, they met recently. They said this man will not allow him to be president of the United States.
But sorry, I don't look as if we're digressing now.
No, but you ask me why. What made it special?
Yeah, but don't you think that today's present America is probably different from the America that we used to know? We understand that their international foreign policy is is in the minds of every American. But if you look at today's America, a nation that thinks more of itself than any other nation, don't you think?
I just told you when we started.
No, but you said Donald Trump may not win.
Donald Trump may not win because his policies, what he stands for, is against American greater interest.
Yeah, but that has
this man has said that he doesn't believe in the Ukraine war. Donald Trump has demonstrated during his first tenure that he's ready to drink tea and champagne with the likes of this guy in North Korea. He's a friend of Vladimir Putin. Is that kind of guy that will maintain American foreign interests?
Anyway, let's come off that now.
But these are the things.
Yeah, let's look at it now, because outside the two countries that United States is suggesting in Africa, we also understand that the U.S. is also suggesting that countries from the Latin America, South America now should also be members of the Security Council. Now, little wonder why these nations will take this opportunity in good faith. What do you think this is going to mean for Africa as a continent? If eventually we have two nations as part of Security Council, what will it mean for us?
As I said, for me, because of what I know in international circle, it will mean nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
To be members of the Security Council?
You do have veto power. It is not the same. You sit down and drink champagne behind the scene.
But let's start from there.
You know. But before now, we have 3 non-permanent members.
Yes. Yeah.
What have they brought on the table for African Africans? Have they been able to say, Mr. Putin, don't invade Ukraine? No veto power. They are toothless bulldogs. The 2 non-permanent members, they are bulldogs. There's no teeth. They cannot bite. So, if you are bringing extra 3 people,
extra 2 now,
extra 2 without bulldogs without teeth to bite, it is not the same equation. For me, they are proposing this thing to better the lot of the national interest of America, just as I said. Experts in my field, listen to me, they know what I'm talking about. It's to better the interest. Because Africa, we have the land, we have the resources, we have the population, we have the market. What don't we have in Africa? United States cannot survive without Africa. That's a part of the matter. Why are they building bases all over Africa?
Yeah, but with the recent development now, especially with
so they want to exploit Africa the more.
Yeah, with what happened recently in Niger, whereby the U.S. had to leave Niger. Do we still see that?
Because the Nigerians, they woke up. We have some new radical guys in Niamey. They woke up and said, hey, gentlemen, what are these bases done for us? That brought us nothing. If anything, they are using the base to pick our uranium, almost free of charge. That's what France has been doing. Almost what? Free of charge. In the name of protection. What are they protecting? In the name of security. What are they securing? So you can see for that go. Why did the leaders in Niamey and other radical countries like Burkina Faso and the other guy
in Mali. Yeah.
Why are they coming up with those radical positions? Because imperialism has not done good to those countries. Imperialism is an issue. Imperialism is a weapon being used against Africa till next tomorrow. So if those things are beneficial to Niger, for instance, will they don't wake up and say this base must leave? So that's a part of the matter.
Okay. Now, as we commence our descent now, let's look at the major pullouts one more time. Because whether we like it or not, for most African nations, it's going to be a big plus that, they are members of the Security Council.
Without
even if we are saying here
for
that
sure.
It's more or less like calling somebody to a table and you ask the person to be watching while you are eating. But no, I think it is a clarion call for the continent of Africa. That's why we have demonstrated, even why you have demonstrated here, how the U.S. became a major superpower.
Dynamic, maneuvering at international level.
Even among the Super Five.
Yes.
Now, can't we have the possibility of an African nation also becoming a major superpower on the continent of Africa? Take, for example, Nigeria. Nigeria has often been said as the giant of Africa. What are the things that we keep on doing wrongly that this being giant of Africa has always been on the lips of people saying it?
Because in Nigeria, for instance, the retrogressive, cruel, backward cabal. There's a cabal that holds the destiny of this country, political destiny.
Political cabal?
Yeah, it is real. Because this group of characters entrench themselves and hold the people to ransom. They don't want democracy, true democracy. Until Nigeria and Nigerians are able to surmount this cabal. The cabal is real. The cabal will not want a visionary leader to appear. If you look at the trajectory, look at this from Nigeria, the best guy will not appear. In 1979, instead of Matama Sule, they brought a Shehu Shagari. When Matama Sule was almost 80% better than Shehu Shagari, but they don't allow Matama Sule to appear.
Well, in your own opinion?
That's what we know. Shagari was a disaster, 1979 to 1984, which brought the Buhari government. Look at just before us here, 2023. Whether we like it or not, there was a revolution that was erupting in Nigeria. The Peter Obi revolution. What happened at the end of the day? So until Nigerians are able to break these jinx.
How?
I don't know. Maybe divine intervention in such a way that maybe the cabal will make a mistake. Maybe one day they will project somebody that will not dance to their tune when you get the supreme power. Those are the case with Wike in Rivers. Wike Banro Fubara.
Yeah, but don't you also think that we've seen such, in your words now, we've seen such mistakes? I mean, recently in our elections, I may take, for example, I mean, if you see the way the elections has been just opposing, how do I mean? A situation whereby you have a political party comes in now, then within the next 4-8 years, another political party, comes in. Even, taking over from incumbents.
Let me not go too far. Until the electoral process is sanitized, whereby your vote will count, my vote will count. A globalized model, such as available in the United States and some European countries, whereby there will be no manipulation in picking the chairman of INEC, for instance. Where there will be an environment where you vote electronically, your vote will count. It can be done, this era of DSM, this Android phone, that once you vote, it will count. But the manipulator, they will not want it to be. Well, until we have a scenario whereby our vote will count, whereby the leader will so desire emerge at the center, that will now do some restructuring, that we have mission, that we have agenda, that we have periodic, development plans. How did China develop? Periodic development plans.
Yeah.
You see, 5 years we want to be here, 2 years we want to be here, and China has become the greatest rival to the United States. China that does emerge in 1949. So until we get it right, maybe by divine intervention, maybe at the end of the day, the powers are manipulating the process, at the end of the day, they now throw up a progressive guy unknowingly to them, that when he gets there, he started doing the right thing. So one of the ways to get there, having a leader with mission, and that is using the sanitized electoral process. So that when you have leaders, there are leaders and there are leaders.
Now, the possibility of this, Nowitai Botako, perhaps becomes very challenging, in the sense that Nigeria electoral system as it stands now seems not to be a situation whereby Nigeria is left alone. We've been having too much of external influence. You know, you talked about the U.S. a while ago.
Yeah, they are
now,
there.
If we continuously have this now, can we really attain and achieve this electoral liberty that we are talking about?
You see, the onus rests on the people. We should keep on agitating. Just like what happened in the United States when we have the civil rights madness for many years. We have the segregation, the blacks were not allowed to do this, they were not allowed to that. You now have the now started changing the laws. At the time, the blacks cannot vote now. So we'll keep on fighting. We keep on agitating. We keep on, pushing through the National Assembly. Let them do the right thing. Let's make the electoral process transparent. When you vote in Benin, somebody you vote in Kaduna, the vote will show. Then all those Kaba will not have power. They cannot manipulate it. It is true. So this present Kaba cannot bring out a leader that will transform Nigeria. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not a soothsayer, but that's the truth. They say by their fruit we can know them. Look at what happened in those states yesterday. Every cat and dog knows that the election yesterday was not the people's choice. Well, that's part of the matter. We are talking about how can Nigeria get out of this mess we are. Yeah, get out of this mess if the right things are done. Sanitize the electoral process. No,
when you use the word every, let's be careful with that now because it's your own opinion.
Yeah, it's my opinion.
Yeah.
I am a member of the civil society. I am a comrade of the highest level. I went to the mail. I'm educated. I'm an expert in my field. I'm not depending on any government.
Yeah, what I'm saying is
I have a research center that takes care of me and my family.
Yeah, let us be careful.
I'm speaking from experience.
So that we don't generalize here. I mean, there's somebody out there watching you this afternoon that is of the opinion that that election was a free and fair election.
Did you see people jubilating in Ring Road? And these are common psychology. Did you see jubilation in Ring Road, for instance? There's no jubilation. People are not happy. People are caged. There's a problem with the electoral system. The electoral system must be sanitized. Maybe, I'm talking about divine intervention. The people in Niger, the people in Burkina Faso, the people in Mali, they went through this process we are going through. Maybe one day, I don't want to talk the untouchable on this program, because one day things will change, and we have a guy that is clear-headed. We need a clear-headed guy in the Aso Rock. A clear-headed that will resemble a first-class team that will take care of Nigeria. We have what it takes. The other day on the program I said, what did the President Tinubu want to do in China?
In China.
When you are sitting on top of President, what don't we have in Nigeria? What don't we have? Must you go to Benji to do what meeting? What meeting? How much? What President Tinubu looking for? We need leaders that will take up for the Dongion. We need leaders that will take Nigeria into the height of international politics, that will open doors for Nigeria, for Africa and Nigerian development. It's a challenge.
All right,
Not
so
what we have.
Yeah, no, we want to say a very big thank you for coming on the program today. Africa Discourse on Independent Television.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the call for 2 African nations to be members of the Security Council. And of course, United States of America is on the forefront now, supporting that 2 African nations should be members of the Security Council. We do not know these 2 nations, but we just pray that maybe, very maybe, if there's any word like that now, that Nigeria will be a part of these 2 African nations. We also need to let you know here that the opinions shared on this program, on all our programs on television and on radio, are entirely the opinions of our guests. We do not share that opinion. Independent television and radio does not have any opinion on these issues. Which I thank you one more time for coming on the program. All right, so on to same time next week, Africa Discourse. My name is Evan Sunokogi. Good afternoon.